Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric on our long-running series, the Unported Playlist, where I take a look at my favorite unported arcade games of all time. Today we have Thunder Fox, released in 1990 by Taito. Now I know what you're thinking, there was a Sega Genesis version of this game, and that is true, but it is substantially cut down from the arcade original experience. It's also available on PlayStation 2, but that version does not play very well whatsoever in my opinion, so as far as it's concerned on my side, the arcade original is the way to play. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we have a Patreon link down below as well, but I won't come for you and stab you, don't worry if you don't. But obviously, if you can't tell already, Thunder Fox is half of a beat 'em up and half of a run and gun Contra style game. You're going to be knifing a lot of your opponents because weapons do come with limited ammo. There's a decent amount of them around, but you're going to have to learn how to do that close quarters combat. But I do love this game. It is entertaining, it's fun, and while I don't understand why our main character didn't wear a shirt, I'd probably say shirts are advisable in a war zone, everything going on here is just a blast. There's a lot of fun parallax scrolling as well, especially for 1990. Those clouds in the background just look great. But getting to the first boss, you're going to have to knife him, and out is going to pop a grenade, which you're going to have to throw at the tank. And I'm going to warn you right now, as far as cheapness in arcade games is concerned, Thunder Fox is a major offender on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being basically free to play, 5 being it's going to take you in a back alley and mug you for the money in your wallet. We're at like a 4.95 on this one, and seeing the ending is going to be frustratingly hard, but we will get to that in a little bit. But the interesting thing about Thunder Fox is I said it was a run and gun kind of action platformer, but it's also a shmup in certain stages. This game loves to play around with its genres, and right past stage 1, you're going to get this flying machine, and you're going to have a little bit of a shmup stage. It's not the greatest shmup of all time, definitely just a little bit of filler between beat 'em up segments, but I do love that the stage continues and you zoom in and get free run of it, so it becomes a run and gun action platformer, but you were on a flying ship. You don't see that very often, and Thunder Fox does a good job with it. You just want to try to preserve it for as long as you can, because once it does explode, you are on foot, and the stage becomes more difficult. But honestly, this is a very simple game to pick up, and a very hard game to get good at. But I do love the fact that once you run out of ammo, you're just fighting machines and punching them with a knife. Apparently that's got to be the sharpest knife in the history of knives, because it never seems to dull, and it can blow up tanks, so that's always a fun time just to kind of see how unrealistic the game is. You're like shooting that jerry can at people with your feet. That gas can just killed 5 opponents in one shot. I don't think gas cans are very good at that unless you light them on fire. Also, don't go near doors. I love that animation where you get sucked out from the plane. But this game just has a ton of charm, and that's why it's so much fun. It is that classic 90s vibe going on, and I love that you have this backflip kick as well that's going to be very useful for some of those higher up in the screen opponents, because this game does love to play with multiple verticalities. Now I will say some of the hardest things in the game are actually hitting switches. You think that that's a switch you need to hit, but there's actually a ladder to the right, and you just can't really see it because it's purple and it looks like part of the background. These opponents will keep coming at you, and only when you realize that's a ladder will you know where to go. This game just likes to troll you every once in a while, but I do love that you get this escape timer as well. We need to get out of this ship before it explodes, and that timer is usually pretty generous, but if you didn't pay attention and find that ladder like I did, then you're gonna basically get out by the skin of your teeth. But somehow that's actually a little bit more fun, and we jump on another sky cycle, and we're basically going to ride that all the way down to the water for a jet ski level. But this game has a great soundtrack as well. It's exactly like you would expect, so go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds, and I'll come back and talk more about Thunder Fox. Enjoy! Soundtrack's great and fun, but I hope you like listening to those two different screams, because basically every opponent that you defeat is going to scream in one of two ways, and it's going to get a little stuck in your ear. But when I said this game was cheap, I mean it. This boss right here, which we're going to have to fight twice, has this long spear, and trying to get in close enough to actually attack him without him blocking is going to be quite hard. It reads your inputs, I swear, and it's going to give you one hell of a hard time. But if you're not putting quarters in, it doesn't really matter. But this, like I said earlier, is the type of game, if you're popping quarters in an arcade, you better hope you got a lot of cash on you to convert to those quarters, because you're going to need every last one of them to see the ending, if you even can manage to see the ending. But I don't want to spoil that quite yet. We'll get to it in a few minutes. But I love that he comes back in that helicopter, and now you have to fight him again, and he's no less cheap than he was before. The bosses in this game range from maddeningly difficult to downright near impossible, and there's some bosses that seem to take like 2 to 3 minutes to beat unless I am missing something. It's not a knock against the game, because I'm not spending real money, but this is not the type of game that if you found it in an arcade back in the day that you'd probably ever see the ending of, because you'd be driven nuts by how many times you died. But I do love all the different genreing in the actual game itself. Now we're onto a jungle level. We've already gone from a couple military bases to a jet ski level, to a shmup level, to a big airship. Everything is constantly changing, so it does give you something new to look at. I swear those guys are dressed up like horse jockeys, I'm not sure, and also not sure how divers live in a waterfall. It's just something that seems to happen, and we just kind of have to take the logic at face value. But we run into this cave right here, and we're going to get to one of the hardest bosses in the game in just a moment. It's going to be a piece of construction equipment, basically. I don't know how that's a boss, but it definitely is going to be. It's got the wrecking ball, it's got 2 lasers, and it's going to make rocks fall on you. And of course, because of the weaponry being limited in ammo, we just ran out of it, and you're going to see now, I sped this up in real time. This took 2.5 minutes to actually beat that boss and to get him to explode. And that's what I mean when I say some of these bosses are going to be downright difficult. But then we move into an office building, and the art style kind of completely changes into this pastel look until we go into the sewer, and I love it. Kind of has a little bit of a Rolling Thunder vibe to me, but it is just such a fun look. And that's the thing about Thunder Fox. Is it an A tier game? No, it's a B tier game for sure, but what is here is so much fun. I just absolutely love how it looks, I love how it sounds, and I love all of the challenge. Even of course get an elevator, even if you don't have to fight on it, making it not quite a beat 'em up game, because you know my rule is that if it's not an elevator section, it's not a beat 'em up. But the game does like to get quarters out of you even when you're not trying. If you just hit the wrong spot on that floor, you're going to lose an entire life. The game does like to take lives away from you in a very unfair manner, and that's why I say that this is one of the cheapest arcade games I've encountered on Unported playlist, and this is on easy difficulty. I can't imagine what it would be like on hard. It's just going to constantly steal your money like it's a bully, and it wants your lunch money. But it's still a fun game, that's the thing. As long as you're not spending your own money, you're going to have a blast. And this is a 2-player game on the arcade version. If you go to the Sega Genesis, it is a 1-player game only, so that's why I highly recommend just playing the arcade version of the game. And now that we're getting towards the end of the game, this boss actually isn't too bad. You can kind of read what's going on, and you can kind of just do some chip damage at him, wait for him to shoot, kick him, and jump back up to that bar, making yourself relatively invulnerable unless you pick the wrong timing. If you get your timing off, you can definitely end up dead like I do here, so sometimes this game just requires a little bit slower of a pace. You want to be methodical with your movements, so maybe you might get a chance to see the ending. And now you'll see here, we are at the final boss, and this is where the game does the thing that I hate in arcade games. You can't just keep continuing to see the ending. If you die here, it's going to make you continue with money, and it's going to start the boss battle over again once you're out of lives, which means you need to beat the boss with the lives you get on 1 credit. If you can't manage that, you don't get to see the ending. You can't even pay to win on this one. It's going to force a restart. You'll see here the screen fades to black. It says try again, and we're right back where we started. So if you can't beat this boss on 1 credit, you're never going to see the ending of the game. And if you've spent enough money to get this far in the game, with it being absurdly cheap in spots, you're going to be really angry because you don't even get the satisfaction of seeing what's probably a very quick credit scroll. But yeah, that's Thunder Fox, definitely a B tier game, but it's a ton of fun, especially with friends, and I recommend you check it out. But leave me a comment down below and tell me if you've ever heard of this game before. I'm assuming this is going to be a deeper cut. Short of that, I'll have another Unported next Monday. I'll have videos for the week as well, but yeah, one of the cheapest games I've ever played. Bye bye.